I would like to invite here Eva Vucheva, Fashion Days Group, Head of Corporate Development. She is going to tell us how to grow from big to smart. Hello, Eva, welcome on the stage.
Hi. Quite a full room, I can see. Thanks for being so patient and, reaching to the end of today. I hope my presentation will be interesting for you. I was actually asked today to speak about big data, and I wasn't quite sure how to approach the matter because, I'm a business person, so for me, big data is not really that much of a technical thing, but more of how a company can kind of build its growth around it. So I decided to, it's a little bit broken, this presentation. Anyway, so I decided to speak about big data from a business perspective and from the perspective of Fashion Days. And for those very few of you who don't really know what Fashion Days is, I'll just brief you quickly. We are a Swiss startup. We were founded in 2009 in Zurich. At the moment, we operate in 7 countries in Central and Eastern Europe, and we are the biggest market player in fashion e-commerce in the region. In 2012, we became part of the Naspers group. And what happened to us in the past 4 to 5 years is that we grew. We grew quite a lot, actually. We started with 6 people sitting in one room in Zurich somewhere. And now we are over 550 people across the region. We also have offices apart from the 7 countries, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Slovenia, Hungary, Bulgaria, and Romania. We have offices also in Zurich, in Berlin, and in Milan. We started, of course, with 0 members, and we are talking daily at the moment to 6 million people across the continent. Our warehouse is quite a big operation. It actually processes about 1,000 parcels the hour. Not the week, not the day, but the hour. And we're photo shooting close to 1,000 products per day. Right. And growth is really awesome. I don't know how many of you are actually part of a startup organization, but for those of you who have ever participated in a startup business, you know that when you grow, you get this adrenaline in your veins. It just like covers all of your body, and you cannot sleep, you cannot eat, you cannot think about anything else, but just how much you will grow tomorrow, how you can grow, how you can develop your business and be the best. And it's very easy when you grow that you get a little bit, you just forget where you're going. You forget your goal, and you forget what you want to reach. Because when you grow, there's so many doors and opportunities opening before you, and so you start to think at some moment you start to think maybe behind each of these doors there is further growth, there is more opportunities, but in fact there isn't that much of opportunities behind each door. So from what we've learned from our experiences, that when you grow, you really need to focus on where you're heading and keep your core competence. We actually tried to do a lot of different things. We offered to our customers many products and services that they didn't require. And every time we opened a door that was not our initial goal, we just hit a wall. One of the walls that we've hit so many times was the wall of collecting data, be it data from the customer perspective, so everything about customer purchase, or be it the data that we create, images for the website or warehouse information. And in fact, the recent study by The Economist shows that 51% of companies report that their biggest business challenge is how they cope with data, how they cope with quality and coherency of data. They claim that they spend 2/3 of their time to actually make this data usable, and they spend only 1/3 of that time to actually look at their data and try to draw some conclusions for their business. One of the reasons, and I actually heard this today a couple of times, is that it's so difficult to find people who actually know how to work with data, how to analyze it, how to draw conclusions out of it and give you business solutions. This is, of course, one side of the coin. The other one is that maybe you have this person and it is the right person, and this person reads all of your data in the best possible way. But the other big problem is if you're actually really ready to listen to that person and how you place this person, this data analyst or business intelligence guy in your organization. Most of the startups or most of the companies who were started by 1 or 2 or 3 people, the starters or the founders of these companies are people who are living with that business for ages. They used to know all of the numbers, threw it out, they would dream about these numbers, and they would make their own conclusions about the business. But when your business grows like a mushroom, it is very difficult to know all your numbers simply because there is far too many numbers to know. And then at some point you wake up and you realize, wow, I need a person that can actually kind of summarize that information for me. And then you get this kind of person. It's normally a nerdy or geeky person that browses through some Excel sheets. And then at some point, you know, they give you this 100 or 200 pages report. And when they give it to you, you never read it because it's just too long. And you don't like the guy because he looks like a nerd. And you think he can never give you enough information about growing your business. But in fact, if you would, you know, get the best person and listen to them and base your business on numbers, you might be surprised of the results that you are going to get. Many companies, when they grow, as said already, they don't really look at data. And at some point, they grow so much that they're forced by an investor or, you know, just by the way that their business develops, to focus a lot on finance, to focus a lot on enhancing their revenue streams, on optimizing their prices. If I go back to the same study of The Economist, they actually compared companies that outperform, so best performers, with companies that perform not that well, they're mediocre performance. And the main difference that they found out between those companies is that the companies that perform outstandingly well do not focus on growing revenue or optimizing prices, but they focus on building a great service, and they focus on great customer engagement. In order for you to build the best service, and in order for you to build a great customer engagement, you need to definitely, you know, go back to that guy and ask him, what should I build? So if we wonder how, and the theme of my presentation is how to go from big to smart, from my perspective and from my experience, the best way to grow smart is actually to imagine that you're huge from the beginning. When you think of how to collect the customer database or how to collect information about the customer and you're at your startup phase, you better think that today you have 10 customers, but tomorrow you have 10,000 customers, and the day after tomorrow you have 100,000 customers. Even if you're not that small, even if you're a big company and you're just now starting to collect data, you will see that the demand for the data changes every now and then. At one point you would need a solution for one thing, and the other point you would need a solution for another thing. So it's very important for you to think in advance of where you want to go and collect the data in a way that it can grow and support you throughout the life cycle of your organization. And this could be one way to grow, you know, from small to big to smart. You could always also grow from small to big to stupid, but you know, it wouldn't be that appropriate to show it today in the presentation. But of course, you could always try to be smart up front before becoming big. And I'm not saying this because it sounds nice, I'm saying this because it actually happened to us so many times, because we grew so quickly, we grew like a mushroom, if we can say it this way. And then when we were already that big, we realized we could have done the things much better up front if we had just taken our time, if we had just sit back and imagine what we would need, you know, in a year from now. And I'm just going to give you a couple of examples and a couple of wall hits that actually happened to us. In the beginning, our warehouse was a small room with one person and a printer, and this guy was able to process about 10 orders per day. Sometimes not even, because he would occasionally run out of paper, so he would postpone one of the orders for the next day and maybe process just 9 orders today. And one morning he came to work, and it turned out that he has to process 100 orders per day. 2 weeks later, it was already 1,000. And a couple of months later, it was already tens of thousands of orders. And at this point, we didn't say, okay, we're growing, guys, so let's take a step back and think about what will happen when we actually grow. We just started to hire a lot of locations. We got big warehouse and another big warehouse, and we got a lot of shelves, and we got a lot of people in this warehouse, but we didn't really think about our process. And at some point, we got this huge sales that we were generating on a daily basis, and we didn't know where our products were. We knew that they were in a warehouse. Sometimes we knew in which warehouse they were exactly, but we didn't have any idea of where they are on the shelf space. So that, of course, took us a little, time to go and look for the right dress. If we wanted to make a campaign of only red dresses, there was absolutely no possibility for us to do that, because we just didn't know where our products were. And then we had to take a step back. We actually outsourced the entire process in order to clean our warehouse, build a new system that can actually collect the data and store it in the right way. And then just right after that, we actually built a pretty much state-of-the-art warehouse, which is at the moment capable of processing 1,000 orders the hour. Actually, it can process an order within 30 minutes after you place it. Very similar thing happened in our content production team, and I have to say that this is the team that has the most fun in our company. They photoshoot models, real-life models, and they play around. They write these fancy texts about all the products. They were photoshooting about 80 products per day, but at some point we decided that we need to kind of offer more products to the website, and we said, okay, guys, in 1 month from now, you will be photoshooting about 1,000 products daily, so please make sure that you have enough people. And we started hiring, and we hired a lot of people. We just forgot to train these people in the right way. So when all of these people came to our team, they came with their personalities and with their personal ideas of what a magenta color is. And we can have a discussion about what if the magenta color is like the fuchsia color, if they're the same color or not. But when you have, let's say, 100 or 1,000 dresses that are with a similar color or the same color, you better name them in the same way in your database, because then at some point you may need to find them. So this didn't happen, and it only happened over time, and it took us about 12 months to actually realize this mistake, and then go back to these people and actually reinforce processes into their daily routine. And I was wondering how to show you where we are at this stage and how we work with our big data at the moment, because we generate quite a lot of data actually on a daily basis. And I decided maybe it's the best way to show it through the life cycle of a new product in our website. And of course I choose a red dress because I had a new red dress, so why not? So the thing that happens is that we receive a product, a sample of a product, it goes to photo shooting, and then these guys retouch the pictures and store it. And they store the picture within a certain way. So they store the picture in a way that we know the color, we know the brand, we know the type of product. And then all of this information is also available in the warehouse. So when our products reach the warehouse, to the information of this red dress, that its color, its brand, and its type of product, we add what are the sizes, what is the availability of items for each size. We also add the expected arrival time, the shelf space, and plenty of other information, right? And then this product goes to the shop, where you can see it in banners, you can see it on its product page, and you can see it in the product sliders. The product slider is just this thing below, and this thing is customized. At the moment, each of our customers has a pretty unique homepage. It is based on an engine that actually collects the behavior of the customer and then offers him products based on his behavior. So the product sliders below would show you this dress if you have recently bought other products of this brand, or if you have recently bought a lot of products in this color, or maybe if we only have this dress in your size available, so then you will see it, but otherwise you will not. And this is the data that the shop collects. It collects the behavior of our customers, and our idea is ultimately to offer a customized website to each of our customers. After that, maybe you buy the product, but maybe you cannot because somebody was quicker than you, and just when you placed it in your shopping basket, somebody bought it just before you. This happens quite a lot at Fashion Days, but we know this, and when we receive back a stock of that dress in your size, you have a very big chance of receiving this email. The email says, "Hello, Eva. We know you tried to purchase this dress, but you were not able to, and this is why this dress is reserved. We have it back on stock, and we reserve it for you for 3 days. So if you want to buy it, it's especially reserved for you, and you can do it through this link." And if you wonder if this is successful, I can confirm that it generates quite a lot of sales and quite a huge customer satisfaction, and ultimately is a win-win for us. Of course, if you were browsing and then taking your time with this product, then it's very likely that you will see it across the web in our advertising, because we use it for retargeting. So we take all of the information that we know that what our customers are interested on the website, and then we use it for advertising to that particular customer outside of the shop. Of course, you may receive the dress and realize that the winter was kind of heavy, and you're no longer an XS, but maybe rather an M size, and you want to return it. So you would call then the customer service, and then at the customer service, the agents are related also to your information, so they know your purchase history, they know your purchase habits, and the idea there is that they can, of course, try to service you in the best way, but also sometimes they would also know that you return 99% of your goods, and in that case, they might not be happy to talk to you that much. And of course, we have all of this warehouse and content and marketing and customer support, and they're all talking to each other, these databases, or it is in a way one pool of information that we just connect to through this business intelligence team. But I'm not using the business intelligence word just because it's a fancy word. I look at it rather as an approach to business, as a data-driven approach to business, and it took us a while to realize that we should actually look at our data when we want to develop our business. And actually, it took us about 2 years to rebuild the entire structure of our business so that we can be better and intelligent and more smart. So if we talk about business intelligence, we could easily say that it's just one other type of intelligence. So what I want to urge you today is just to be smart and be intelligent and use the data that you have, because this is what will generate your business further. Thank you.
Thank you. I have an amazing presentation. I like your red dress, by the way.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for this.
Thanks.
Could you please join us here for the discussion panel? And